Up and running. I got my son, Bryce Boy. He just gets really crazy on my Facebook. So he now knows how to do Facebook Messenger, and he gets all crazy on Facebook Messenger so I got all these pictures of him everywhere. So just getting that cleaned up. So good morning to everybody. I better see some people on video this morning. There's Robin coming in at you. What do we got going on? I better see some videos, smiling faces. Jada, I don't care if you're in your car today, guys. It is a Christmas Friday. There we go. Latrice is out there. Jade is out there. Look at everybody going out there. So come join us on the video. We got a show for you today, everybody. My name is Coach Brock Zevan, life coach, business coach, real estate agent, and a DAD. And just to let you know, the elf on the shelf was swimming this morning. We had to fill up the sink with water, put him in a container, and he is just chilling. Bryce thought it was the coolest thing. I don't know who's having more fun, me or him on this right now. But anyway, so good morning to everybody. Boy, do we got a part two show for you today on this Figure It Out Friday. Good morning to you, Michelle. Good morning, Coach Todd, Mr. Kastner. Tell us where you're calling us from. Alicia, we got a lot of people over here look at that waiter right there serving you, Robin. I love it. I love seeing what I got going on out there. Tell us where you're calling us from. Good morning, John Hart. Good morning to you all. Guys, I brought in my guru. I brought in the man. Every time I talk to this guy, I'm like, hey man, you in Alaska? And I don't know, maybe I don't pay attention. That could be a problem, Robin. Don't say anything. But he's like, oh yeah, no, I'm still in Florida. I'm here in Florida. Then I'm going to Houston. Then I was in Virginia. And yeah, I bounce around from Airbnb to Airbnbs. And I'm just like, all right, man. Setting the bar. I only go to Airbnbs for like 4 days. He goes on them for 4 weeks. And I was just like, man, just a different world, different world. So let me bring on today. I got Mr. Derek Green is going to be co-hosting with me Figure It Out Friday because we got a special guest today and we're going to bring him on the stage here very shortly. But once again, back-to-back days with Mr. Coach Derek Green. Good morning to you, brother.
I know, right? Good morning to you and all those beautiful people. Man, I really love that sweater, bro.
You
Nice sweater.
know, it's one of those sweaters that could go either way. I get a little it could go either way, but I like it. It's different and you know me, I'm a little different and it's very warm and it's very warm.
Okay. Nah, it looks good. It looks good on you. Not hitting on you, but looks good.
Thanks, man. Well, you look phenomenal. I mean, yesterday you had the red chef's coat on, and today I probably even said that wrong, but and today just looking
It's all good.
dapper, man. Looking dapper.
It's all good, man. I'm excited, brother. Um, this guest that we have today is awesome and really meaningful person in my life. So I'm excited for this and absolutely had to show back up for it. Let's go.
Yeah, man. I'm really excited. You introduced me to Ken a couple weeks ago, for some virtual assistant type of stuff for all the stuff that Ken is doing. And I was just blown away and got to hear a little bit about his story and um, coming from cut from the same cloth, dealing with some addiction issues. You yesterday talking about it, and him and I really connected. And so, but without you, I wouldn't have known Ken. So tell the audience here today a little bit about how you know Ken and how that all started before we bring him on.
Dude, it was crazy how it happened. So I was actually in this phase of life where I really was seeking my purpose. I was trying to find my purpose. Got into this huge argument with my boss in the military. She pulled the trump card, made me go to a meeting that she was supposed to attend. I stood up, represented the Alaska National Guard, and it was Ken that stood up and asked me, he's like, "Hey, Sergeant, what you doing for lunch?" And I said, "Eating with you." And that was it. He treated me to Red Robin and proceeded to change my life. So we went inside at Red Robin, and I mean, Ken is an open book, so he just sits down and just starts pouring into me about the life that he's lived. And I realized how much of a amazing human being this is because he was someone that had been homeless and had been living on the street and had suffered with alcoholism, had suffered with crack addiction, had done so many different things, whether being a pimp or all that aligns with that. And he just discussed all of these things that he'd done in life where normally, because remember, I was a military policeman. So he would normally be the person that I'd be looking at like, yo, I'm about to put you in some handcuffs right now with all this stuff that you're telling me. But then he proceeds to tell me about these leadership programs that he's done. One of them was called Step Up Anchorage, which led to something called Leadership Anchorage, of which he's also an alumni. And not just that, but then he started talking about the nonprofits that he'd worked for and different organizations that he'd done things for. And at that point, he'd raised tens of millions. Now it's over $60 million for nonprofit organizations. So to be a person that had gone from all those years on the streets, doing all of the things that he had done, to then switching his life around and being sober for so long and changing so many people's lives, man, I was just like, I need to stay connected with this dude. And he mentors young black men also. And at that time, like I said, I was trying to find my purpose, and he stepped in and helped facilitate that. And it's just been a wonderful journey. And then on top of that, he allowed me to help ghostwrite his book. So all around mentor. That's how we met, brother.
That's awesome, man. Yeah, it's just I think the alignment that God puts inside of us is just really amazing and how it took place. And I've been privileged to have several conversations with Ken. So on this Figured Out Friday, guys, put some fives in the chat, put some loves in the chat, a virtual high five over here. Let's bring on Mr. Ken Miller. Good morning to you, sir.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you.
Now, where's this backdrop you at? Are you really there? What tell us a little bit about where
With
you're at?
so that backdrop is Ecuador. My wife and I built a 6-bedroom home in Ecuador last year. Again, one of the blessings of some of the decisions and choices that I made. So we have a home with swimming pool on the beach in Ecuador on the equator. So that's the background. But I'm in Bellingham, Washington, but formerly of Anchorage, Alaska.
Well, we want to say thank you very much for being up early this morning on the West Coast time. Derek usually is greeting us over in Alaska time with our boy Cullen. So thank you for getting up early to be a part of our Figured Out Friday show. And so, Ken, tell us a little bit, give us like a 30-second overview, the 10,000 foot of, who you are, your family, a little bit about you before we get into some of these defining some figured out moments.
Sure. So the 32nd one is I was born October 15th, 1962. My mother was a white teenage prostitute. My dad was a black male, obviously pimp in New York. I did my first 6 years in foster homes. Did not know who my mother was. Adopted in 1969 by Irene and Sam Miller. I was precocious as a child. I was a National Merit Scholar, accepted to Harvard, got my degree from Dartmouth College, Ivy League. But within 3 years of graduating from college, I always tell people I graduated with a degree in fraternity and with a minor in history and English. And believe me, that was a truth. Within 3 years, I was homeless on the streets of Seattle, Reno, Nevada, Anchorage, and ended up doing about 20 years as a homeless individual. I'm a 3-time convicted felon, spent years behind bars. I was a pimp, an armed robber. I was a male prostitute. I was a criminal of the sorts that you'd probably go to the other side of the street. I am not that person today. I'm a kind and gentle man. I've been sober now for 20 years, clean and sober, since September 22nd, 2004. And today I own 3 businesses. I'm married, have the kids, the grandkids, and have a beautiful, blessed life.
Wow. Wow. I watch people's faces, just probably like my face reaction of seeing people's eyeballs of just like, I remember reading the big book and Bill in the big book, he keeps saying his story and his story. I'm like, this guy's got to figure it out. He can't hit bottom again. He can't hit bottom again. And then like we listen to your story, it's just like, oh God, he did that and that long. And just to hear your success, to hear your path, like for anybody out there that for today, this recording will be on Facebook. For anybody that you have, I want you to share the story because this story, this what this man has done at the lowest of the low to continue to figure it out, that no matter how bad you possibly think it is, he is living proof of what you can grow through in this. So Derek and I talked earlier this morning, and one of the things, Ken, that and I know with your life, it's you probably already have it pinned down because you're a national speaker and you know how this goes. But like in the Figured Out moment, our Figured Out Friday podcast show, and Derek's going to kind of chime in with us. He's kind of like the color in the announcing when they do football. But like, tell us a little bit about that defining moment, that figuring out moment, that, oh shit, I gotta do something, or like, I don't know, because it seems like there could be so many for you, but
Mhm.
what's one that really elevates over all the others that you're willing to share with us today?
Well, there's about 3 or 4 pivotal moments. I'll share one or two. The first one was September 22nd, 2004. I was dying. And what I mean by dying, I was dying physically, but I was dying spiritually. And we talk about the mustard seed in the Bible and that little iota, that little infinitesimal sense that there is a future for me was dying. And when that dies, the body follows shortly after. I know that from experience. I've been suicidal. And so September 22nd, I woke up in a closet. That's where I was living, in a closet. And at that point, my whole possessions were a pair of sneakers, a pair of shorts, no underwear, a t-shirt, and that is it. No socks. No, I had nothing else. Those were
Mm.
my possessions I owned in the world. And I went out there and did a hustle real quick and ended up with a $10 rock of crack cocaine, which I then sold so I could have money to go to treatment in Seattle, Washington. I'm in Reno. And I was arrested by the SET team, the Reno SET team, street enforcement team. And I'll never forget, I'm waiting for the paddy wagon and I'm handcuffed, I'm hemmed up. I'm real handcuffed. I'm not like in the movies where they handcuff you up front. In real life, they always handcuff you in the back. So I'm handcuffed and I'm crying. I am bawling. And I remember the cop coming up to me thinking something's wrong, maybe physically, emotionally. And he's like, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I'm crying because I'm going to live. I'm going to live. I can do prison. I've been there twice before. I know I'm going back to prison. I can do that. But I can't do the streets. I can't do me out here in the world. I can't do it. I'm dying." And at that moment, I just knew I had a chance because I was going to sit it down. I ended up sitting it down for 3 years, but I knew I was going to sit it down. And so that was one of the pivotal. And I just want to talk about one more because this is the real important one, because this is where God comes into the picture. Approximately a month and a half into my sentence. It takes about 3 months to get to the penitentiary because you got to go through, sentencing and arraignment, all that good stuff. And I'm lying on my bunk in Unit 13 at Par Boulevard jail. And I had a conversation with God. God had a conversation with me. I think God was always trying to have conversations with me. I just wasn't listening. I
Mm.
wasn't willing to take in that information. And the
Amen.
conversation very simply was, if you're willing to go through the steps, I will be there with you. I will protect you. I'm not going to say it's going to be painless because it wasn't, but I will be there with you if you want to make this walk. Because I've never left you. And boy, I don't feel like I'm getting ready to cry. But I heard this. I heard this. And I'm laying there on that bunk. And literally, I've told people from that moment on, I've been cool. I've been cool. There's been some, setbacks, challenges, but I've never used, I've never hurt anyone, I've never put hands on anyone. That conversation was my pivot point because I've been to jail twice before. I've been to 13 treatment centers. So that wasn't the answer. The answer for me was to allow a spiritual entity who I call God to modify my behavior, to allow me to modify my behavior, because my behavior was no joke. It was no joke. Those are just two.
Man, you see what I'm talking about, Brock? So
I'm
from
like, yeah.
yeah, for someone to go from all of the traumas and the things that you've endured, Ken, to now be able to stand on stages and transform people's lives. First of all, thank you for sharing those two. for the audience, for you guys to understand, those are two pivotal moments, but man, there's so much packed into the head of this person sitting in front of you guys. So I appreciate that you're here, Ken, with all of this and sharing those moments. Um,
I have a question to
yeah,
Derek, if you don't mind me asking really
go
quickly,
for it, Brock.
because you said this and and I guess it triggered me because being an addict, like you brought some like I could cry too right now because it brings you back to that time period. It brings you back to that like that moment, that pain or that emotion either way. But you said to the police officer when you said that you cried, he says, I can't do me.
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
can't do me. And the me that you were referring to is this strange person now that you had in your past. That was the guy that was in the closet, and Chad Free, he had his moment in the closet where he was broke as a joke and just kind of had his tumbling moment. But you said you didn't have socks. You just had a pair of, like, you remember vividly that moment and where it is. And it's kind of like God's way of saying, like, Kenya, you can't, Derek, you talked about yesterday, the T in trust. We can't trust you in the street because you have no control. You're just a totally crazy. We got to get you into some structure. And unfortunately, structure for you is jail.
Best thing that ever happened to me. I tell that all the time. Best thing that ever happened to me was to go to prison for 3 years. And a lot of people can't say that, but I understand what prison was and what prison allowed me to do because I needed to get healthy again mentally, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. I had 4 areas that I had to work on because I was a mess. And so I have a new book coming out, comes out in January. This is the one that Derek wrote, was my ghostwriter. And it's called Finding Ken. That's what it is.
Mm.
Finding Ken, a black man's journey from the Ivy Leagues to the penitentiary, the streets, and back. But that's why I had to find me. I had to go back to, because I was a nice kid. I was a good kid. You don't get to Dartmouth or Harvard or whatever and being a bad kid.
Right, right. Those
It don't,
those
it
aren't
don't, it
like
don't work
community
like that.
colleges.
It's
Those,
hard to
those are
study
some
on the
pretty
streets,
prestigious.
okay? So, Ken, my thing was, how do I put myself in a situation? But we get these situations, and people on this call have the same thing. We have these times where we can take a moment to reflect. I just had 3 years to reflect. And to then also, you get a chance to try out things in a neutral. I already know
Did
what I'm
you just
saying.
hear, sorry, Ken, not to
Yeah, go
interrupt
ahead.
you,
My fault, my
but this was
fault.
some, guys, did you just hear what he said? He said, I just had 3 years.
Mhm.
Some of you bitch and whine and complain because you got 3 minutes, 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. The guy had 3 years to reflect. So some of you who want this light switch type of immediate response, it just doesn't happen that way. And for you, I just had 3 years. And you're like, I got to work on my entire self, all the different layers, all the different peels of the onion that you are working through when you're going through. So that like that resonated. You're like, I just had 3 years to get myself together to get ready to go back to the real world.
I was scared to get out of prison. I didn't want to get out. Because I didn't know if I was ready.
Mm.
Did I make enough changes in my thinking, my emotions, and my spiritual? I'm not worried about the physical at this point. My physical's fine. Okay. We have this thing we call the jailhouse swell. And that means you bulk up because you're lifting weights all the time. I had no problem with that. But was I ready emotionally? And I wasn't sure. I had some tests when I got out. And thank goodness I passed them. Let me tell you about a test. I get out, I get a sponsor, great man. And anybody who knows the penitentiary, whites and blacks don't interact. We don't interact. I don't interact with Hispanics. I don't interact with whites except on maybe on the softball field, basketball field, and maybe in the chow hall. But we sit at separate tables. So anyway, I get this white guy that I meet in the penitentiary, and I go in and I sit down with him, And I'll never forget, he looks me in the eye and he said, you ready to do this? And I'm like, yeah. And I have 3 years underneath me, but yeah, I'm ready to work the steps on the outside. I need this. And he said, okay, no relationships for a year. And I looked at him and all I heard was, no sex for a year? I just got out of the penitentiary, dude. You know, I've been down for 3 years and you're telling me, he said no relationship, but you know how our minds interpret. And that was a pivotal moment for me. Am I going to believe this white man? Am I going to take trust in another man and do what he is suggesting because he has my best interest at heart? Or am I going to go back into self-will? Because my will was not to not have any relationships for a year coming out of the penitentiary, okay? And I remember, I don't know how long it was, because I think back on it, because I know exactly where I was sitting in his house and all that good stuff. But I sat there and thought, and I said, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Because my way hasn't worked in the past.
Mm.
So I'm putting my faith in you. Just like when I mentor young Black men, I'm asking you, trust me. I have your best interest at heart. It's not about me. I don't want anything from you except your growth, your success, and your joy. That's all I want. And if you will, I will never lead you astray. As far as I know, Derek, I've never led you astray. You know, and we've been together maybe 10 years now. Okay. So anyway, just another, again, those are those pivotal moments. Those are the time that you really need to go inside and talk with God and then identify God's will and then carry that out.
I love the line you said, because that's literally what I said too, which is just crazy to me. My way's not working. I've tried my way. My way is just, it gets me down a path that is just, there's got to be and I remember Jim Rohn, Mr. Shope told Jim Rohn, he said, how much longer do you want to stay on this plan? Who sold you this plan for you to be broke as a joke and to have this? And it kind of like sometimes I look at it, I'm like, I don't know how the hell I even got here. Like, how did I get into this mess? And then it's like, oh, bad decision over bad decision over bad decision over bad decision. I'm like, okay, well, how about I mean, I know how to make decisions. How about I start making good ones and making these good ones consistently? And that plan could put me in a better path. Now, Ken, and I feel like I could talk to you forever on here, but we're limited on time. So today, a successful man, I was blessed to hear more about your success. With success, we also haven't reached the pinnacle. We haven't reached the top. We're still going through things. Share with people today who are growing and going, what are you figuring out today? What is Ken Miller trying to figure out today?
What I'm trying to figure out is how to scale my message. You know, I've been working with individual men for 15 years, one-on-one. And I've worked with probably about 40 men. I've worked with 8 in depth right now. And because I have a message. And when you have a message and the ability to articulate the message and the solution and or answer as you see it, I feel like I have a calling and or an obligation. My power is this. I don't have any secrets. So when I stand on the stage and I talk about the shame of being a male prostitute on the streets in front of hundreds of people without breaking down or without keeping that a secret, because I was definitely based on secrets for years. If you knew me, you wouldn't like me. I don't need for you to like me. I have people who like me. Derek likes me. My wife likes me. I'm cool. My grandkids like me. I'm cool. Okay. But anyway, now my journey, that's why I wrote the book. That's why I'm getting on the stages, is because I want to share that there is a solution. I want to share that you can overcome. I want to share that there is a thing called resilience. I want to share that we can take away the power of the secret. I want to share that there is God if the audience is open and receptive to that. because I tailor it to the audience. But anyway, that's literally what I'm trying to figure out today is how do I get on more stages, larger stages, and 100%, Brock, it's not about money. Derek knows this. It's not about money. I do very well. I do very well. Okay. So I'm not worried about finance. What I am worried about is my obligation that God has put in front of me to be able to share my story and my so-called solutions. Okay.
Brother, I have the utmost respect for you and appreciate you. You know, seeing and knowing at a level, the audience right now gets 30 to 45 minutes with you. I've listened to more than 60 hours of your life story. So imagine listening to this, guys, for more than 60 hours of understanding what he's done and who he's become now. Ken, you're now in a place where you're one of the number one fundraisers, literally, in the nonprofit space on the planet. You're really great at what you do. You've raised over $60 million for nonprofit organizations. What does that mean for you, coming from where you've come from to be where you are now?
What it means is what I'm called is a subject matter expert. I am. I'm an SME. I'm very, very good at fundraising. I teach all over the country, in person, online. What it means to me is when I got out of prison, I didn't know I could have any expertise in anything. Okay. I tell people all the time, when I went into the penitentiary, I would read a paragraph. And by the time I got to the last sentence in the paragraph, I couldn't told you what the first sentence was because my brain literally could not retain that amount of information. Okay. My vocabulary was very limited. I had a good one, but it was very limited on what I could discuss and or talk. So anyway, what it's allowed me, I got into a field that's in the world of philanthropy, which I love, and nonprofit, because I was a recipient and client of soup kitchens and shelters for years. So I was a recipient. Then I had the ability to give back, fell in love with it. And there is a sense, and the word, I don't want to say I'm the best or any of that. It's a sense of competency. I'm very competent to the world of fundraising. And so what I do is I share it many times for free. I teach for free or I teach for pay, people that bring me on. And so it's always nice to know that you're good at at least for me, to be good at something. And now I'm moving into another realm of writing books and speaking from the stage. And I want to be, I just want to make sure you hear this, Brock. I don't want to be the best, period. I don't want to be the best. I want to be good at what I do or very good. But I don't want that last iota to say that I'm the best in the top 3%. I don't need that. I have too much other areas of my life. I have a spiritual world. I have a family world. I have a volunteer world. I have a company world. I have employees. So for me to be the best at anything then takes away from other areas of my life. And we talk about this balance. I want to be balanced. And I do a pretty good job of it. I'm pretty balanced now.
I want to say this line that you said here, and I want for those leaning in right now to listen to this question I'm about to kind of present from what I heard Ken say. He says that he helps these places, where he was, because he was a recipient. And when you're a recipient of something, there's a different feeling, there's a different drive. So my question I wrote down here to carry with you today is, and it kind of goes to what you said, Derek, about Stephen Covey's eighth law, and I kind of put it into this from what Ken said. He says, I wrote down this: where are you a recipient that you can help other people? Where in your life are you a recipient that you can go and help other people, just like your purpose, Ken, now is to help these nonprofits because you were a recipient before you got to the nonprofit. And that really stuck out to me in what you're doing. And it's amazing because you took your passion and you attached it to something, and it's already 8:45. What's the what's the one thing, and for those that have to go, we understand, but just I wanna ask you this, Ken. What's the one thing that everything you've been through, everything you've done, the books, the teaching, the prisons, what's the one thing you'd like to leave us with today, this audience here today, and for those that watch the recording and come back, like, what's the one thing you would share with us today, Ken?
Yeah, I thought about that question. I'm just going to say this. I'm a real big one on emotions, feelings versus rational, cognitive, spiritual. And what I'd like to say is, because some people are probably on this call who are struggling, who are in pain or discomfort as you listen to this. And I just want to say that your present is not your future. Your present is not your future. Make your way, your journey, your travail, make it yours. Take ownership of your future, but it's not your present. I always talk about this, and I end with this. I understand the tyranny of the now, the tyranny of the now. And I'm hurting. I'm in discomfort. I have this challenge. I have this problem. It's now. And it's the tyranny of the now, but that's not your future. Your future is bright. Your future is with God. Your future is what you make of it, but it's not your reality, your present. Okay, that's
Amen,
it.
man. Amen. I love it. I love it. Now, Jay, Rika, if we can make sure that we get all Ken's contact information. I know he's got a book. Obviously, Derek wrote the book, was the ghostwriter behind it. Derek, anything that you would like to close us out with, promote, push, share, and how people can get more involved with Ken and what he's done and how that all looks?
Listen, in any facet of your life, what I want you to take away from this thing today is listening to this man, September 22nd, 2004, being on the street with nothing. The shirt on his back, the pants on his butt, not even underwear, no socks, and his shoes. And to go from that to being where he is now with his flex, he's flexing by having his patio in the back right there. But I appreciate that he's able to flex like that and show that you can come from nothing and get to the life that you actually desire and design for yourself with the help of God, with the help of the mentors and the coaches that help you along. You can get there. So this is why this man is such an inspiration for me and is my top mentor. So thank you, Ken. I appreciate your time, brother.
Thank you. Thank you, Brock. Thank you, Derek. And thank you, everyone that's on this call. Thank you for taking time to invest in yourself. Very appreciative.
Man, I love it. Guys, put some fives in the chat. Put some love in the chat for those of you on the Facebook world. Put some love, put some chat, put some fives in the chat for you. Guys, this recording is on the Brock Zevan's Mindset Motivational Coaching Facebook page. Go to it, hit the share button, let other people know about this message. Somebody that you might be like, hey, I was listening to this today and I thought about you. And you never know where it could go from and where they can grow from it. Ken, I appreciate you, man, sharing and exposing yourself and being vulnerable. And Derek, I appreciate you bringing this human into my life to help me grow into where he is. You guys are amazing people. I'm blessed to be able to share this Figured Out Friday. For those that want to reach out to Ken, all his contact information, his social media, his handles are all in these chats as well as on our Facebook page. I appreciate everybody. Good luck to those of you who are doing your Christmas shopping this weekend. Maybe get some deals. You just never know. God bless you all. Thank you so much. And we'll be back Monday morning, 8:15. I'll be your host with Mondays with Maxwell. Appreciate y'all. Derek Green, I appreciate you, brother.
Have a good one, y'all. Be blessed.
See ya.